In the United States, President Biden has called for calm after 5 police officers were charged with the murder of Tyre Nicols, a black man severely beaten after a traffic stop earlier this month. The officers in Memphis, Tennessee, who are all black, were fired last week after being accused of using excessive force. Their actions were caught on body cameras. That video will be released in the next 24 hours. Our correspondent Peter Bowes has more on the developments.
Another case of alleged police brutality in America, this time in Memphis, where 29-year-old Tyre Nicols died 3 days after he was stopped for alleged reckless driving. His family say he was severely beaten. The 5 officers were sacked last week after an investigation found them to be directly responsible for the physical abuse of Mr. Nicols. Now they've been charged with second-degree murder.
This is a failing of basic humanity toward another individual. This incident was heinous, reckless, and inhumane.
Video footage of the arrest will be made public in the coming hours. Tyre Nicols' grieving family had an opportunity to review it earlier this week.
I don't know anything right now. All I know is my son Tyre is not here with me anymore. He will never walk through that door again. He would never come in and say, "Hello, parents," because that's what he would do. He would come in and say, "Hello, parents."
In a word, it's absolutely appalling. Let me be clear. What happened here does not at all reflect proper policing. This was wrong. This was criminal.
I don't know where to begin. Feels like it's deja vu all over again. Feels like over the past couple of days I've seen the same headlines. I've seen the same stories. I've seen the same division. I've seen the same politicization. I've seen the same... I don't know. Everything, it feels like yet again another innocent man has been brutalized by the police in America. If you haven't been paying attention recently, a young male, Tyre Nicols from Memphis, Tennessee, was brutally battered by police officers earlier this month on a routine traffic stop. Honestly, I feel like if you're in America, you should be definitely fearful of the police, especially if you're driving. Like, we've all seen the sitcoms, we've all seen the skits of anyone being pulled over by the police officer and they're already scared for their life. And this is just the latest example of an innocent civilian being caught by the brutal police system in America. Like, there's so much I can say, but at the end of the day, someone has lost their life to this vicious attack. And this only divides people more. Just to think of it, a tragedy like this can only sow division in America. For some reason, whether it's a mass shooting or police brutality, it only hardens each side. Even before the footage got released, there were people saying, "Oh my God, the police chief is already stoking division by saying the public should be, ready to riot and be rightfully, enraged, and she understands the pain that will come out from this, this footage, this backlash from what these police officers, no, they're not even police officers, the gang members with badges. Let's be honest, these guys were absolutely sick in what they did. First off, it starts off by him getting dragged out and them saying, get to the ground, more time, my man's already on the ground. And then he says, don't move, put your head to the concrete. And then they say, just comply. And he complied. And this is what happened. And when he was complying and he already said, you guys are doing too much. Already got a taser to his leg. He's not done anything. This is not a criminal that's on their radar. This isn't a warrant. There's no warrant out for my man. He's just round the block from his own house and he's getting stopped for the police for an alleged reckless driving incident, which there's no evidence of at all. And then they proceed with the battery. After, he realizes, this is probably going to be the end of me. I'm just going to try and run to my house. My mom's round the corner. He's thinking, let me just get to my house and surely there'll be some hope for me there. But they didn't let that happen. They decided to act like thugs and beat him to an inch of his life with no care once the ambulance came. There was no rush. There was no concern for his life. It was just, I don't know. They just took out their frustrations on him for the people who've seen it. No one can understand why they did this. And then there's more division. Oh my God. See, this was, black on black crime. These police officers were black. So, race has got nothing to do with it. And to those people, I say, this isn't about race. This is about the police system. This isn't about black versus white. This is about the police system and how it polices its citizens, whether they're black or white. This isn't the first case of police acting wild, like a pack of animals, on an innocent civilian member. Honestly, there's countless incidents. There's just too much to name off. Honestly, I don't like there's so many things I could say, but nothing would do justice. Do I feel like things are going to change? This is America we're talking about. Things don't change like that. Things basically stay the same. Minor tweaks here and there depending on what part is in power. But a wholesale reform, that's not going to happen. I don't believe in quote unquote defunding the police. I feel like the police needs to be re-educated. There needs to be proper scientifically based ways of teaching these officers how to deal with situations, because it feels like anything with a police officer in America is just point and shoot. They say they're trained to kill, not trained to protect. So if we can change that mentality in terms of de-escalation, because they say, we can't always, give the benefit of the doubt to anyone we're encountering. Well, why are you in the police then? You're not supposed to be. You're not soldiers on the battlefield. A soldier on the battlefield doesn't have that, that luxury of, assessing the situation. The soldier doesn't have genuine authority in the warfare or in the battleground. They have to, take things as they come. Whereas the police officer, this is why you've got badges. This is why you have authority. You've got time. You've got authority to assess the situation without resorting to violence. And this case is not even like that. This is just, these guys went out on a bender last night and just did a madness. Yeah. And there's and there's more politicization. You got political pundits like Candace Owens, even before the footage comes out, saying, you know, the police chief this is reckless for inciting violence. It's like she's asking for it. She's almost like lighting a torch for this, you know, the violent riots and stuff like that. This is another George Floyd 2.0. For all we know, he might be a criminal. For all we know, he could be, you know, high on drugs. For all we know, he could be X, Y, and Z, a thug, and they were just doing their job. We don't know anything about this person. We don't know the footage.
You know what we haven't had in a while? Racial riots. I miss racial riots, right? It's like we just need something to happen to a black man for the entire world to be on fire about it, with very little facts. And I just miss that. I miss that. And don't worry, guys, because George Floyd 2.0 is potentially coming. It is potentially coming to Memphis, Tennessee. At least that's where it's going to potentially start. And if you listen to this police chief who is speaking about a man, Tyre Nicols, who died 3 days after a traffic stop on January 7th, then you fully expect that anybody who rioted in the summer of 2020 for George Floyd is just waiting for the police cam footage to drop because of her words, right? She's saying, essentially, you're going to hear her in a few seconds. I'm going to note for people that are listening to this podcast and not watching it that she's a black woman. Her name's Carolyn Davis. And she's essentially saying, what you are going to see is so horrific and so bad, but please don't riot. That's the setup. She's saying that she expects you to feel outrage. She's basically saying your outrage is okay for the disregard to basic human rights. All of the perfect buzzwords to get people thinking that they have every right to do whatever they want. You are rightfully outraged. You are going to see that they disregarded his human rights. And but no violence, please. Because that's just like a little safety thing at the end. It's like I'm basically saying like, whoa, you're going to be really angry. Ready your engines. Be at the edge of your... She's giving us suspense here. We're at the edge of our seats. I want to see the video. Just want to say before you see this video, guys, it's really, really bad. It's worse than you could ever imagine. There's no human response here. It lacks basic humanity. So if you know nothing about this case, you're probably thinking, here we go. Racist white cops are going to simply stop this man for a traffic stop, right? And just bludgeon him because he's black. That's what their language makes me feel like. If I just saw their language, absent the facts surrounding this, I would instantly say, this is going to be like something from the 1920s. Like the Klansmen just show up on a property and they just drag him out of his house and they're going to beat him just because he's black, right? She doesn't say anything about respecting the police officers, understanding that things escalated. I mean, she could have said anything here to make you aware that some other things happen. I mean, my guess is going to be that he wasn't listening to police instructions, right? And everything can escalate pretty quickly after that because police officers don't know what a suspect is thinking. They don't know how violent a suspect is going to be. When you don't listen to them and you act insane, I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand, right? If you don't listen to them and you start acting insane and you start fighting back, they don't know that it's not an ordinary move. They don't know whether or not you are going to try to hurt them or hurt somebody else. Their job is to protect the public. Maybe you're going to hurt somebody else. So I'll give you what we do know before this footage is released. Tyre Nicols was pulled over on January 7th around 8:30 p.m. for reckless driving near Rains Road and Ross Road in Memphis. A confrontation occurred during the stop, which resulted in police chasing Nicols on foot. He was later apprehended. The police department said while attempting to take the suspect into custody, another confrontation occurred. However, the suspect was ultimately apprehended. Afterward, the suspect complained of having shortness of breath, at which point an ambulance was called to the scene. He was transported in critical condition to St. Francis Hospital, where he died 3 days later. Now, that kind of says, I don't know what the footage is going to show, but I think that we can already discern that had he have complied with the police officers and did not start running, if they did not have to chase him on foot and deal with two separate confrontations, perhaps he would be alive. But forget all that, guys, because that's not fun. That's not fun in America in 2023. Instead, we need there to be racial tension, and people are at the edge of their seats. A comment under this video on YouTube. If the chief is giving everyone a warning of how bad this video is going to be, you gotta believe it's going to be really bad. Rodney King bad. Prayers for Memphis. Black prayer hands. We've heard this thousands of times before. You're just hoping the delay between now and then is long enough for people to forget. Next. Jesus, please help us in Memphis. This video is going to be even worse than I'm imagining. Those are just the first 3 comments I'm reading that have come in under this video, just so you get an idea that what this woman did, what this police chief did, what Carolyn Davis did was irresponsible. It was irresponsible. She could have simply waited for the police footage. She could have just provided some context. She could have mentioned the fact that things, as I mentioned before, escalated. But that's not what they do. That's not what people that actually are pretending that they want safety, but in real actuality, what they want is to stoke violence and to be the hero on the face on the news that says, oh, what happened to him was so bad. They don't want people to have facts. They want people to have emotion. So as I said, ready your engines, people, because it's about to get ugly in Memphis.
If a police officer says what they did was categorically abhorrent, wait and see, and your first response is, oh, we don't know what he's about. We don't know his track record. We don't know, if he was high on drugs. There must be some context as to why they did what they did. And all I was doing was, all right, bet. Let's wait and see the footage. And the footage came out, and crickets from Candace Owens. No, I jumped the gun. No apology. No, this is, disgusting by the officers. This is not this is not good policing. This isn't what the police represents. None of that. It's just silence. Doesn't even acknowledge the crap that she said the day before. And then there'll be people just, still hanging on those, oh, being a police is a tough job. If they just complied, why did he run away? If they just complied, if they just did what the police officer said. He did all that. He did comply. He did what the police officer said, but his life was still in threat. His life was still in danger, and he knew that. That's why he ran. Are you telling me if this was you would happily go out like the way he did? No, he tried to save his life by running away, but unfortunately, he was outmanned by these thugs. Like, watching that video, I'm just thinking, these guys are happy with what they did. The fist bumping each other, it's like they just came out from winning a game 7 in the playoff games or something like that. It's just crazy, the mentality they were in. It was like a frenzy. It was weird. I think that's enough ranting. Condolences go out to his families and loved ones who are dealing with this tragedy. I hope they get the justice they deserve. I hope those people, those animals involved in this brutality get the sentences they deserve and justice is served. That's all I can say.